is Serpent's Tale.
Hold on.
Let me finish. It's an edgy outside of fictionless.
But that's what you're offering.
You're
offering your own company. What you're offering is a particular approach. Why do you publish that very diverse ranging book? There's something there that attracts them all to you. Why shouldn't some of the buyers some of the readers be interested in that?
They might, but I don't know. I'm sure there's nobody in this room, and I don't know any myself, people who buy... There was a time about 30 years ago when people would go and buy a Picador book because it had a white spine, and there was a time when people would buy a Virago Classic because it had a green spine, but those are gone. People don't back...
But we're still here. Those buyers 30 years ago.
They are, but they're not... Nobody buys according to publisher. What matters to you is the author, or the subject, or the sensibility, or the fact that's what your friends are talking about. The publisher, there has been quite a lot of market research. In the hierarchy of buying decisions, the publisher is very low down on the list. And I was just saying, Serpent's Tale is a more distinctive list. It's sort of edgy, it's outsider, it's quite dark. And so we went to some lengths to set up a community. We tweet a lot, we've got a website that's very active. We sent out bulletins, we offered special offers to readers. And we were doing about £6,000 a year of business on the website, selling direct to consumers. And even that has now dropped away because...
But in non-fiction publishing, you may be reissuing books, and so your previous buyer is quite important, and if you know who they are, you can go back to them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even sure that's true, because I'm not sure... firstly, we don't do that many new editions, because they're not that sort of book. But I think actually the new edition is probably bought by the next generation of reader, rather than the same reader wanting the next edition. Because we're not doing things like car manuals, where you obviously, you've got the next car, you've got to buy the next.
But definitely for us, it does work. So because we have relationship, we approach those like Amazon more directly. We go and we say we just launched an extension to this communication. Not only that they are dating now, but you're going to see what is the next episode, so to speak. It's about subject matter. Let's say, what do you do when someone complain? Complaint handling is a big thing in healthcare, and big proportion of them are buying. And this is the advantage of this type of relationship. And I would urge my friend Andrew to start maybe to think in a different way about working, because one of the things that we didn't talk about, the fact that you are working via channels, the advantage is that it opens the world for you, but it's restricted because they keep the users for themselves. And maybe in the future you'll be able to work with them, and this is what we are trying to do. So when we work with universities, it's a partnership. We're going to see, I believe, huge growth in our business with academic institutions, because they need our sort of creativity, marketing, ability to, let's say, I'm trying to be polite here, but not to be fazed by technology. We have a group of technologists that are geared to do whatever you ask them to do, which is very helpful to the universities that they are more traditional, but they can award degrees, and we don't.
The thing that you do that universities are not good at doing is that creation of content. The model of teaching is so much stand up and share your expertise live. The publication of that expertise, the only one, of course, the Open University here, is really good at it. But learning those skills is really tough for universities.
I think the fundamental difference in your business, which I think is brilliant, is that people have to come to you because they have no choice. If you are a dentist and you need to do your CPD, your continuing professional development, you've got to do this course. And this is the best way of doing it. It's the most fun, it's the most effective, but you have to do it. Nobody ever has to read profile books, so we have to persuade them it's something they want to do. So I'm like a restaurant competing with any other restaurant, and I've got to persuade people to come in because they want to. But you, in a way, are more like a supermarket. They've got to come in and do their shop, because if they don't, they will starve. And actually, both of them are perfectly good business models. Can be perfectly good business models.
Can I just ask two more questions, which more for no, because again, it's more my area. live support. So are you looking at the suppliers in India, for example, who are providing live tutors? And the whole CPD explosion, do you think that's going to change the world of online provision in general for specialists?
Okay, so we are right into CPD and CE and all of that, as you can imagine. We do work in India. Just to give you some ideas, at the moment, 1 out of every doctor or dentist coming to the world is coming from India.
So 1 out of what?
Sorry?
This was another bogus statistic. 1 out of what?
4.
4. You said 4. Okay, 1 out of 4.
1 out of 4, 25%. Now, it is a phenomenal number, but we see some other countries like Brazil, and we study to operate there as well, that they provide too many, let's say, dentists in the market. So our statistics says over there that 40% of the taxi drivers are dentists. Because the market cannot sustain the cost of the treatment. It's very different in India, 300 million middle class, and it's subject to definitions. We operate over there, and it's quite challenging. I think that we see big growth. We charge the same prices as we charge in the UK, and so we research where's the money is coming from. It's usually the family that gathering all the efforts together to pay for the guy who is going to feed the next generation. It's very interesting. And the motivation for us is by generating more future revenues. Okay, so it's very different for the model of buying a book. These are schemes. These are not just one course. These are degrees, postgraduate degrees. And again, in India, we do research. We know how much more they're going to make, how they're going to make it. Mostly, if they're going to be part of the academia world and combine it with their own practices, they will be able to generate more revenues and good revenues. So this is what we do ourselves. We have consultants. Actually, the people that we are in competitive market because King's, which is quite a good university, try to work in our space over there, and the people from King's came to us. They said, "Can we work with you?" So we said, "Why not?"
Sorry, where's King's?
King's College.
Oh, King's College.
Yeah. So we are competing with King's College at the moment successfully. We have to work because of the cost. We start a degree with minimum 50 students per year. Now it's growing to 70 different countries. So we have a lot of challenges, but we have a lot of fun with it. So we have a complete team. Our approach is we don't say no. We do
you presume
run.
very high fixed costs. So if you go below the number, you're staring horrible losses. But as soon as the number of students goes up, your marginal costs are very low.
I know, but
so the profits come in very fast. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Our break-even usually is about 25 to 30 students per year. We won't open a degree unless we have 30 students. We just don't open in order not to go into losses. And part of our revenues are every university per year, per degree, is making more than $250,000 from us. So, and as a result, we have UCL, Imperial College, this is UK, NYU, Temple, Buffalo, Indiana, so big universities, and the same in India. And we have dual rewarding degrees. In America, when you say to the Manchester University, they said, we don't know what it is. So we have to have some dual rewarding. So we're getting into this market in that way.
Neither of you happen to be UK-based or international textbook publishers, but I think what you're saying would be very familiar to people who know how many people we have here who, in the room who might be from that world. And we have other people coming through the week, but they would be very familiar with these partnership models. Again, Andrew, anything to suggest to you for the future? Opportunities?
I think there's fantastic opportunities, and I think it's a terrible mistake to think that there's something about internet-based people, they sort of look down on print, and there's that awful phase about 2 years ago when everyone talks about dead trees, and they sort of scowl and they would say books printed on dead trees, and there's this sort of, they sort of sit up in this old bass view they look down on, because we're an old technology. I'm very proud of the old technology. It's 500 years old. It's worked jolly well. It's going to carry on working. I think there are new opportunities which we must rise to, new ways of selling what we do to people, but I don't think it's going to cancel out what we've done. I think what you're doing is 100% innovative, really. I think we've got to stop it all.
But surprisingly, when I had to fill this feedback or opportunity for feedback, no one asked me about my email, and I asked the lady, "Where's you don't want my email?" She said no. So in my world, this is I would like to suggest one of the means of communicating, and we all use it. And you are quite, and probably you've done it deliberately to support Andrew, you are quite traditional and you don't ask for the email. So
it's not my fault, it's a city university.
No, I understand, but that's exactly the opportunity for us. Because we come to establish well-established, traditional, very good courses, and we said, what can we do together in order to open it up worldwide? And I know that you do it with broadcasting. And one of the platforms that we're using is Adobe Connect. But the communication is much more immediate and electronic.
Yeah, absolutely. So any final questions before?
I think the interesting thing from the point of view of international publishing is that in a way, what you're doing is actually a threat to people that are currently publishing things in that sector. Whereas actually, the irony is the technology is a threat to you overall, but actually the only sort of people that are likely to replace you are other people like you who might do it slightly differently. Whereas actually you're a threat to universities, and you're also a threat to those people that currently produce print versions of books. And
of course I completely disagree with you, because...
I do too.
And I'll tell you why.
Because...
Because...
Repeat the question, could you, for the recording?
Well, you thought that we were under no threat except from other publishers who do it better than us.
But
you are a threat to universities.
Yeah.
That must be right.
But we are not, and I'll tell you why. Because the model of universities in this country
I actually meant publishers. No, you're a threat to those people who currently publish the sorts of material that would traditionally come out of a publisher for universities. What you're doing is a direct threat to the way in which they're doing. You are, to some degree, a threat towards the universities in general, in a slightly different way, but that's not quite the important bit. The important bit is if you look at publishing across the board, what you are, in some degree, becoming a different sort of beast to what was traditionally published. Whereas what I'm saying in traditional trade publishing, particularly the narrowly defined version that you were talking about, you are only likely to be replaced by other people like you who are doing something slightly different from you, probably on a slightly different cost base with a slightly different range of products. Whereas actually what you're doing is actually going to entirely replace that. In the way so many other bits of publishing have been destroyed completely by the rise of electronic publishing, business information, all of those sorts of things, all gone. There's very peripheral, epiphenomenon of print.
Yeah, I apologize. I misunderstood your statement. And but we do, by the way, offer partnership to some targeted healthcare publishers like Reader, Severe, and the like, some smaller Blackwell. And we say to them, let's work together with the universities to provide more diverse and richer content and share the cost and the opportunity.
Yes.
Partnership.
Sharing something they didn't used to have to share before.
Yeah, because the cost of reaching a target audience is quite high, and I think that there's room for every one of us. And when you're open-minded, and definitely when we work at the universities, they are becoming more and more open-minded, and we have a lot of fun working with them, and we create trust. And usually it takes two years to start one degree, 3 to 2 years. And then afterwards, they usually come with 3 or 4 additional degrees within 1 year that they want to launch with us.
Yeah.
That's the pattern.
That's a new business. It didn't exist before.
That's great. Yeah, that's what publishers need to be doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just to ask you to thank our two August visitors. It's been a fantastic session which we will work together with some conclusions after the break when unfortunately they cannot stay with us. So please let's thank them for their contribution.